A very good morning to all of you friends. First of all, I'd like to express my happiness that most of you have written very nicely in your examination. That is the test that we had. And I'm really very happy to see that you have organized physics, chemistry and biology in separate places. Most of your handwritings are also very nice. So it is very clear that you have given a lot of self-study. So keep it up. But I would like to suggest most of you that please take care of the diagrams. Okay, just a simpler diagram, that was the animal cell was asked and the controlling center was asked as well as the outermost boundary. Okay, but I am not very happy to see that some of you have drawn the outer boundary, you have mentioned the outermost boundary, but you have not written the name of that boundary, that is the cell membrane or the plasma membrane. Similarly, the nucleus is called the controlling center. So many of you have written controlling center, you have shown the nucleus, but you have not mentioned that it is known as nucleus. So please try to take care of these simple things when you are writing your examination, okay, because they really help you to score marks. Got it? Because labeling means you have to practice your diagram in such a way that you should know what a circle means, what a line means. Okay, if you are drawing a line, you should know what is the meaning of that line. Similarly, if you are drawing the nucleus, you should know that that is the nucleus. So you will have to point it out. Okay, so please take care of these simple things and practice the diagrams, because biology, you know, is basically based on diagrams. Now, in this video today, we are going to study about the plasma membrane or the cell membrane once again. Okay, I have already done a number of videos related to this chapter, that is the fundamental unit of life, that is cell. Now you can go back to the previous videos and find out, but I would also like to clear your concept regarding the structure and function of the cell membrane or the plasma membrane. Okay, now what is plasma membrane or cell membrane? It is the outermost boundary in case of all cells, both plants as well as animals. Okay, in case of animals, it is the outermost boundary, but in case of plants, one more boundary lies outside the cell membrane, that is called the cell wall. Okay, please make your concepts very clear. So cell membrane is present in both plant cell as well as in animal cell. Now this cell membrane is usually, as you know, is located also sometimes in microorganisms also, like you can say if you are talking about unicellular organisms like amoeba or paramecium, their body is also enclosed within a cell membrane because they are single celled organism. Okay, the whole body is equivalent to a single cell. So that is why unicellular organisms are also called single celled organisms. Okay, now this cell membrane is basically known as the fluid mosaic model. Okay, this model was given by Singer and Nicholson in the year 1972. So let us see that what is the fluid mosaic model. So this model is called the fluid mosaic model or the fluid mosaic structure of the cell membrane or plasma membrane. Okay, now children, we know that plasma membrane is made up of proteins and lipids. That is why it is very living in nature. We also know that the plasma membrane has the power or the capacity to allow certain substances to move inside and outside the cell. That is also called semi-permeable permeability, or they are also called selectively permeable membranes, isn't it? Now in this fluid mosaic model, you will see that Singer and Nicholson, they gave this model, and according to this model, there are two types of molecules which are present. The brown structures that you see, these are the lipids. Okay, lipids means oil or glycerol structures. So lipid, oil. Okay, and these blue structures, they are the proteins. So that is the reason why we say plasma membrane is made up of lipids, the brown one lipids and the blue one proteins. There are also certain other substances like carbohydrates or glycolipids or phospholipids, which are chain-like structures which are attached to the outer surface of the plasma membrane. So if this is the plasma membrane, like we draw a boundary. So if that boundary is stretched to form this sandwich-like structure, that structure is called the fluid mosaic model. Okay, so this is the outside here, this is the outside of the cell, and suppose this is the inside of the cell. So cytoplasm is present here. whereas this side is the outermost side of the plasma membrane. Okay, something like two bread. If you sandwich two bread together, then the uppermost surface, so this is the uppermost surface and this is the lowermost surface. So similarly, phospholipids are present here. In that same manner, phospholipids are also present here. These are the phospholipid molecules. Okay. Now here I have drawn one phospholipid molecule. That phospholipid molecule is made up of two parts. You can see here the head and two tails. Okay. Again, so this is these ones. And just if you invert it, then these ones. Okay, so you see the tails are together but the heads are away from each other. Got it? Because I have already written here, if you see, hydrophilic head of phospholipid and hydrophobic tail of phospholipids. That means these phospholipid molecules are made up of two parts. The head or phospholipid head, okay, that head is called hydrophilic. Hydrophilic means it has affinity for water. Okay, so it loves water. That is why hydrophilic. Philia means love. So hydro means water. So hydrophilic. But the tails, they are away from water. That means they are hydrophobic. That means they have a fear of water. Because they are oil. You know, oil substance, they don't absorb water. Isn't it? So they cannot absorb water. So they are called hydrophobic. Got it? Now these two structures, they are these phospholipid molecules, they are present in such a way that the tails are close to each other and the heads are away from each other. Got it? And some protein molecules which are present in between them. These protein molecules, say, they extend from this surface to this surface. That means outer surface to the inner surface. So they are called the intrinsic proteins. Okay? Intrinsic protein. Whereas some proteins which lie on the surface, outside surface, they are called extrinsic proteins. So now we know that cell membrane is made up of two parts, the phospholipids and proteins. Now these proteins are of two types, intrinsic proteins and extrinsic proteins. Okay, these proteins, they serve as channel when certain substances, like we have read, certain substances like gases, like oxygen, carbon dioxide, okay, or water molecules, when they enter into the cell, or other, can be any biomolecule that is utilized for synthesis of certain things inside the cell. So all these raw material, they enter into the cell, isn't it, through these channels which are called proteins. So protein channels, they help in exchange of certain substances. Also there are some substances that must be removed, okay, like nitrogenous waste or like tear or like saliva. They should be removed from the cell. So the cell membrane not only gives a rigid structure to the cell, it not only helps in transportation of certain substances, but also it helps in intake of substances and exit of substances, okay, removal of unwanted substances. So by the help of you can say to shoe polish, I can show you that this represents a cell membrane. Okay, this is the hydrophilic head. Hydrophilic head. This is also the hydrophilic head. Got it? And these are the bristles. They are the tails. Hydrophobic tails. Okay, so hydrophilic means they have affinity for water, and these two, the orange and the white, they are called the hydrophobic ends. That is why they are away from water. So this is basically the breadth of cell membrane. Okay, this together is the cell membrane, and it is present like a boundary across the cell. So this is the hydrophilic end, and these are the hydrophobic ends. So these are the head and these are the tails. Okay, the tails are attached in this manner close to each other, and the heads are away from each other. And in between they have some protein molecules like this. These protein molecules, they help in intake of certain substances. They have some channel like structures, some gate like structures which open, the substance easily gets inside, and suppose any substance wants to come out, that also moves out of the same channel. Okay, so these proteins, they are called the proteins which are present from this surface to this surface. They are called the intrinsic proteins, and some proteins are present exclusively on the top. They are called extrinsic proteins. Okay, so this is the model of fluid mosaic model, or explanation of the fluid mosaic model. Now fluid means liquid. So out of protein and lipid, which one is liquid? The lipid is the liquid or fluid part, okay, and the protein molecules, they are the solid parts. So the protein molecules, they flow in a sea of lipids. That is why it is called fluid mosaic model. Okay, fluid mosaic model means the protein molecules, the intrinsic and extrinsic molecules, they basically float in sea of lipid. Okay, but the structure is similar to the one just now I have shown you. Okay, now I will upload a note. Okay, you will go through this note. There are some assignments. You will do those assignments and try to find out. Now, why did I discuss this fluid mosaic model today? Because you know, cell membrane is very living in nature, and it allows certain substances to move in and out by the help of two processes that we have already learned, that is diffusion and osmosis. Okay, so diffusion of gases like oxygen, carbon dioxide, how is it possible for the cell membrane to intake substances, biomolecules, or to remove biomolecules from inside the cell? Okay, so all this property depends on the structure of the plasma membrane. So the structural organization of the plasma membrane is actually a fluid mosaic model, and it is also called protein lipid protein model. Okay, so protein on the top, then lipid, two bilayer of lipid, okay, two layers, bilayer of lipid, and again protein. So PLP, it is also called PLP model or structure. Okay, so please do the assignments, write them in your class of copies, go through the NCERT book. Okay, also go through my previous videos to find out the other properties of the cell membrane. Thank you so much for watching this video.